St. Petersburg, Florida, of course, we're talking about. John Lagerholm, you and I both belong to Sarasota Screenwriters, a group moderated by Laurie Stoner, who's also been on this program. Could you tell our listeners about Sarasota Screenwriters and how it works?
Sure. Yeah. I don't know the exact timeline of it, but it's been going for a long time now. And I know Laurie's been running it, and I think she's been running it for at least 10 years, and it probably existed maybe for 10 years before that. But right now in its current form, it meets monthly. A bunch of screenwriters meet monthly along with a bunch of actors that will come and then read a particular screenplay of some form. So they can be shorts, or they can be a portion of a feature that people are working on. And it's really just a fantastic opportunity, at least for me as a screenwriter, to hear what I write, get feedback on what I write, and it's really terrific. And it's the result. You were in the capsule as one of the actors, and you were also at the reading that we did.
Sure.
Before then. So to be able to listen to that, and Sean as well was one of the readers, and when we read it before production, and to get the feedback and to hear people and say, yeah, you're right for the role, you're who I want, and it's just an invaluable experience for sure.
Just to hear your words. Well, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, but it's been great to me. I've been able to read a couple of our hopeful future episodes there, but it's not just for me, it's for any kind of screenwriter that's really interested in it. They're really supportive of reading people's stuff. Make sure you come and are part of the group. Don't just kind of use it and say thanks and never come back. It's because it's really valuable, and there's just a lot of similar to what I was saying about the filmmakers in general in Sarasota. I think that the Sarasota Screenwriters Group are people that understand story, understand screenwriting, and give you useful and valuable feedback when you get a chance to have your stuff read.
They're very good. And then there's a playwriting group in Sarasota, and then there's a book group. I mean, it's just fabulous. John Lagerholm, you presented Sleep of the Abyss at the 2019 Sarasota Film Festival. What kind of film is this, and how long is it, and what is the story? Where can we see it?
It's not available online yet. I think it hopefully will be up sometime soon. We were doing the festival run. We finished that up, like you said, at the Sarasota Film Festival. We might show it a couple other places, but hopefully it'll be online soon. And I consider it to be an experimental short film. Some people have kind of qualified it as sci-fi. It's not technically sci-fi in my mind, but it takes place in kind of a single location where some people are monitoring a person who has lost kind of memory of why he's there, and kind of discussions. And it was all done actually originally as part of a single take film contest, which is done in Sarasota here. So the entire experience is about 7 minutes, is done without any cuts or edits. So really terrific job by the actors and the crew to put that together. And that was a lot of fun. And it was interesting to make, because we made it for the Sarasota we made it for the Single Take Film Festival, which happens every year, and showed a version, and that was a lot of fun. And then even beyond that, even though I had made the film, I was able to kind of modify it further by adding some other layers of video to it by re-recording it. So it was even fun after it had been made and been shown, and fun and exciting for us to revisit yet again and make further changes that just made it a whole new film. Was a lot of fun, and part of why I consider it an experimental film, and fun to experiment in and try new things, and hopefully it's just kind of not bizarre, but engaging, surreal experience for anybody that watches it. That was kind of the intent.
Right. And well, for our listeners who don't know, Sarasota, Florida is a very artsy little town an hour south of Tampa on Florida's Gulf or West Coast. And it's often a 6-month home to many snowbirds. And often these people come down from New York or Canada. And there are a lot of very knowledgeable artsy, I call them artsy people in Sarasota. How many local filmmakers are there here? And is it hard to find production funding for some of your shorts, your long films?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot. Maybe that's just because that's the people I hang out with, but there is a lot of people uh, that are, I can think of dozens of filmmakers that, are making some kind of living here, and making, great and interesting work. It is hard, I think, to find production funding. That's an egg I haven't cracked yet. There's the larger at a larger scale. That okay, this is a X number budgeted movie. That those people I don't know if they're here. I haven't connected with them. I hope to. But like you say, the community I do feel is very supportive of it. So, in the parts where we're independently producing things or independently making things, the audiences are very responsive. And if you take in or if you try something a little more artsy or a little more experimental, there's still a lot of good feedback from that.
Hmm.
And yeah, but it is hard to find production funding. But I'm assuming that's the case almost anywhere except maybe Los Angeles, which it has its own challenges of being
Right.
one of the
Just
million
living
people.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, just living there, trying to get from one place to another in LA has become very, very difficult. I used to live there, but how much do you do these? How much do these things cost? I mean, to produce these films, or
The
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, they can be. I mean, the ones I make, are a few $1,000s, and the we would certainly hope if we had backers or executive producers that could bring in more. That there's certainly ways we could do it, but the approach we've taken has been very collaborative, and have people like yourself donate your time as actors, and there's a
mm,
lot of very giving people giving to the arts, and hopefully someday all that will pay off for everybody in some form,
sure,
with some kind of success that rises up, rising tide rises all boats. But
okay.
for right now, we work with what we can, and I think the challenge is just getting it done, and making sure that not having it here isn't the reason that we don't tell the stories we want to tell.
Right, right. Well, I'm going to ask you a question I asked Laurie Stoner, and it concerns movies and screenplays. I remember when I lived in LA and then France, I was a teacher slash writer slash actor, and my wife was a reader and a translator for an international film company over in LA. Sometimes she would show me screenplays that were really good, and you could imagine the film. The 1995 horror film Seven, starring Kevin Spacey, Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, about the seven deadly sins, was one of them. But another one, The English Patient, was a terrible, really boring script that put me to sleep. And yet, The English Patient became a huge hit, starring Juliette Binoche and Ralph Fiennes. John, could you define what a screenplay is for our listeners? What is it about a screenplay that makes it great? And is it even possible to have a great film from a lousy screenplay, like I guess it is before The English Patient?
Yeah. Yeah. A screenplay is basically what the writer is going to put out, and it will basically have the dialogue and the actions that are then utilized by the director and cast and crew to make the film. And yeah, I think it's kind of one of the most critical, important pieces of filmmaking to making sure your film is good. Um, I your experience with the English Patient. I don't know if you enjoyed did you enjoy the end film?
Oh,
English.
I love to watch the film and see the film,
Yeah,
but when I tried to read the script several times, kept falling asleep. So maybe it
yeah,
was, I don't know.
yeah. No, I think it is possible to have a great film. I mean, I don't want to say it's possible to have it from a lousy screenplay, but I do think it's possible that screenplays can be kind of misinterpreted, or or maybe you're just not seeing it in the same vision that maybe a director does or the producer does. I do think that
Sure.
happens a lot. I mean, I assume any script I send out and a producer doesn't buy is some kind of. I don't necessarily want to take that as a hit that it is bad or whatever, but more so that maybe it just didn't fit the genre, or maybe they weren't understanding it or seeing it in the way that that I do, and that's fine. That especially if you're trying to do something new or interesting with a screenplay, a lot of times somebody reading it might have a set idea of what it is, and really you mean it in a different way, and that's just one of the reasons maybe a screenplay might feel a lot different than a feature or a film in the end. But yeah,
Mm,
it's a
mm.
whole process, and for the most part, yeah, the script is just the beginning of it, and For the most part, the script is, if you do have a great script, that's really the key. I was reading a quote from Alfred Hitchcock the other day, where he said, all you need to make a great film is three things: the script, the script, and the script. And I
He
think
said that. That's fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's very true. If you have that, the rest of it's a lot easier to put together. And without it, it's something people are going to have to work really, really hard at. And sometimes they do, and they pull it off, and it's great even with those challenges. But start with a script is my recommendation for sure.
Well, unfortunately, we only have a minute left. We went fast today. I want to ask you just one last question. Where do you get your material, John? If you could tell me that in like 45 seconds or so. And do you feel that film is the best and quickest way to tell the story?
Yeah, I try and think. There's certain ways that I like films, and I actively try and really write a lot. And so some of it is just consciously saying, okay, I'm gonna take this time and I'm trying to think of a story that fits in whatever structure, whatever genre, whatever piece kind of I feel like I want to play with. And I really, that's how I kind of start the buds of the stories that I want. Is
okay.
And then film is, I think, a great way to tell stories.
And could you also tell me, just for our listeners, what your website is, or whatever you want to put out there, and tell us about it so we can go to it and check, look you up?
Sure thing. Domainofterror.com. That's where you can listen to the capsule. My production company is called Finished Productions.
Finished
like it's done. Yep. And
Finish. Okay, Finished Productions.
Finished, ED with an ED at the end. And
sorry.
You can just go, no problem. But yeah, you can just go to finished.productions, and that'll take you there. You don't even need a .com, just finished.productions. That'll take you to my website. And that'll link out to the neighborhood once that's live, and also Domain of Terror has a link down on that too. So if you're having trouble finding it, that's a place to find it, and a place to get in touch with me.
Well, perfect. Well, we're almost out of time, so I'd like to thank producer, director, and writer John Lagerholm for being on the show today. I'd like to remind our listeners that Curmudgeonly Yours can be heard on iHeart, AHA, Sound Echo, Spotify, and many other internet radio platforms, and obviously on SocietyBitesRadio.com and on RichardMont.com. You click on podcast. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Richard. It's been great to be here.
Thanks. So I'd like to thank our guests for being on Curmudgeonly Yours today. And please, if you like what you heard, send me an email to richard@richardmont.com. And if you didn't, please keep your comments to yourself. Remember, this is Richard Mont and Curmudgeonly Yours on Society Bites Radio, where everything is what it seems, nothing is what it seems, and what is not said is often of most interest.